Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. And in the wake of OpTic Texas getting a 5-1 start to the Major 3 qualifiers, but not exactly emphatically defeating the teams they beat it, Kenny and Pred and also Shotzzy and Dashy certainly giving their perspective on the way that some of these guys play the game. Also Pred revealing that some of these amateur players that have just come into the league still do not seem especially keen to actually grind the game at all. Deep frustrations with the OpTic camp that some of these players don't seem to want to win. Apparently they're too egotistical according to Kenny, believing their way is the right way when they're getting slammed week in, week out. What is going on with most of these pro teams? Why does most of the league absolutely suck? Very much enjoying your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. First of all, Toronto is next week. This time next week, I'm going to be there in Toronto. Absolutely buzzing. It was a phenomenal event last year. Obviously, the boys are going to be there, Trey, Ace, and I mean, this was a rather fascinating graphic that we got the boys to put together. You guys know where we go with this, of course. But if you guys are looking to attend either last minute or you're local, or honestly, I know lots of people last year just hopped over the border, either they drove over from, you know, the north of the US or whatever it might be, it's definitely, I think, at least in the CDL era, the one that you want to attend. There are still tickets available here, so if you guys are looking to come along, link in the top line of the description, have a look what's still available, because I think some of them have sold out, but some tickets probably are still available for the weekend. I think maybe the single day Sunday tickets aren't, but I think there's other things that will be. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it, and yeah, meet the boys. Absolutely sensational content. Let's dive straight into this as well, because Dashy, the 20v1 may be making its return. It obviously got postponed because Zinni didn't have the aura or whatever to get the girls in that they needed, and I know that Jake Lucky was talking. I'm not exactly sure if there is a rescheduled date yet, but yeah, hopefully this could go off without a hitch the second time round. Actually, speaking of hitch, we did have this, and I just wanted to share this very briefly without actually commenting on any of the words on the screen, just before we swiftly move onwards to what's going on with the CDL at the moment. So, Dr. Doug Leby puts this together. This is crazy. I don't know if we've ever seen this before in the CDL, that for the final weekend of games, there are 2 teams guarantee the losers bracket, there are 6 teams guarantee the winners bracket, and there are 4 teams which is very much in their own hands, and it is a very simple win and in scenario. So Carolina this weekend, they play the Minnesota Rocker. Los Angeles Grillers, they play the Miami Heretics. The winner of those series goes through to winners bracket, the loser goes out. And I don't think we've ever seen it as clear cut as this. Boston are 100% in losers, Vegas are 100% in losers, every other team is 100% in winners. Now, the seeding is not yet confirmed at all. I mean, New York right now are 3-3. So if they were to end 3-4, sure, they end up in winners, but they will play a team that they do not necessarily want to play based on the way that the seeding would work at that point, because OpTic and Atlanta and Toronto, they're going to finish in a nice tasty position, as may potentially Thieves. Thieves actually play OpTic this upcoming weekend as well, which is going to be kind of interesting to see how that one goes on the recent results. The reason why this isn't 50-50, by the way, is simply because of which guys, well, basically an ELO style rating, I imagine, which considers which teams should be the favourites based on how well they've performed. So, you know, I guess the theory is that Minnesota are a 54% favourite against Ravens and Grillers are a 51% favourite against Miami. So it shows that those series not only are very close theoretically in terms of who's going to win, but also you know, massively important in terms of who gets winners. And it's not even just about getting winners, it's about the points you get from winning the series. It's 10 online, but also starting in the winners bracket, the opportunity to get more points at the major is most certainly there. So I think honestly, I would take Ravens as the favourites for that series and possibly the Grillers. So technically both the underdogs, I guess very marginally, I think have great chances the way that they're currently playing. But this might well have been the first time we see something like this, and it might well be, well, hopefully it's going to be the last time, because, you know, respectfully, I don't want this format to last all that much longer than it presently is. But yeah, I mean, he puts these together, Doug, quite often, but the fact that we have 4 teams basically right about here is definitely something rather unique. But I wanted to share a couple of clips here from what the OpTic guys have had to say on the state of the league at the moment. We know that they're getting frustrated, and probably for good reason, with lots of the guys they play against. For example, when they play Miami, there's a feeling that the games they play against Miami in actual matches are not what happens when they play them in practice. These guys are playing different in practice, they're trying harder in practice. There's even a feeling now, and certainly I think this is the case, that some players, they know they ain't winning the World Championship. They're here to try and make champs, qualify for champs, look as good as they can, and that's the key point. Keep their spot for next season. This is why Scrappy's argument with Zuma the other day that, well, you know, I'm way better than you in my prime because my era is stronger. I don't think that really applies. Back in the day, in the CWL era, were there weaker teams? Sure, but there are certainly weaker teams today. Like, there are some trash teams today. Like, I don't think there's any way that I'm looking at some of these bottom teams and saying, yeah, they would be beating up on the worst teams back in the day. And also back then, I don't think there was as much of this whole playing for stats, playing for kills and stuff like that, because back then there weren't salaries on the same level. Today, playing for your spots and playing differently in practice than matches to try and maintain it is actually a viable strategy because it keeps you on a salaried roster spot with at least a minimum salary of 55k plus whatever it is for these teams. Whereas back then, you needed to win. You needed to place as best as you can because that's how you were getting the money. So I don't really think that argument holds too much water, but it still point remains that many of these teams do not seem to be at the level that many of the players would like them to be at. And that's why these guys get kind of confused that they're playing CDL matches and they're playing what feels like a different game to what they actually play in practice. So there's been some thoughts on this from Kenny and the reason why some of these teams seem apparently egotistical in the way that they're playing crap, but they think they're playing well in some of their strats, and therefore they'll just stick with it, even though they know they're going to get slammed by the top teams when they play them. Prid's frustrated as well at the lack of commitment these players seem to have. This game, we talk about this every year, but the game is pretty dead. The start of this game, BPL, Breaking Point, Ladder, whatever it was technically standing for, was a thing at the start of the season, and we had lots of pros playing that. Ranked came out, you know, the hackers are everywhere, it's kind of died, and how many money 8s do you see? How often do you see the players playing anything outside of practice? Doesn't really happen. The game is pretty dead from that perspective, and Pred's like, what are these guys doing? Do they not want to try and win? Are they deluded? Like, do they think they're better than they are? And why are many of these amateurs, who you'd think is the perfect chance for them to come in and get some 8s going, why don't they still do it?
Oh, damn.
110 to
They've lost 42 rounds on Invasion.
At that point, we got to
42 rounds.
Who is scamming?
There's 17 somebody, 42.
Somebody. Wait, whoa. Somebody scamming.
17 and 42. My God.
Maybe it's the way they're like. We got to start playing for cash and S&D and scrims or something. Maybe people are just running down mid.
One thing I will say, I'm surprised like a lot of people don't play. I guess like 8s in S&D and HP. Yeah. Like this year compared to like the years prior.
Because everybody has, bro. I feel like, I don't know. We always talk about teams not playing for the win, but I feel like teams are so egotistical nowadays that they think that they're the way they're playing is the right way. But it's like, I don't know. We talked about it, but
Like, I mean, S&D is like
everybody plays the same in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like when they play each other, like when we don't scrim these teams, they play each other. The scrim's probably going a completely different way.
We're probably,
so it's like, why play it?
It's like that Invasion. Like it's like there probably looks like Invasion, like the old one that we used to play.
Yeah.
Like, for every map for them.
But they're winning it. So then it's just like these teams don't even think they're bad. But
it's because this is the way they're probably looking at it. Like we won, so this works, or we got killed, so this works. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they're not even looking deeper into it. Probably it's too result based. It's like
I don't know when the like respawn aids died, but.
Bro, I'm telling you right now, they have not been alive.
I just don't get it. It's like, bro,
dead.
there's so many AMs have joined the league. Why wouldn't they want to grind? Like, it's so fucking brain dead. It actually pisses me off.
Yeah, no, this game is unbelievably dead. The rank, the shit. Like, I could go on and on because, like, I'm trying to play the game.
People
I'm
actually
getting on. I'm playing ranked. I'm playing hackers. This game, like,
bro, playing rank play all the time.
What the fuck are people playing?
Bro, I could play.
I had to switch to Rebirth, bro.
I know people.
That's just fun, huh?
So Pred, as you can tell, very frustrated actually at the decision making by some of these guys to end up in this position. And this is the league as it stands. It's very clear cut, right? These are the standings so far. FaZe, OpTic, Toronto, New York are 3-3, but a good, of course, bounce back week for them over the last few days. There are some other teams with some promise. I mean, Thieves, of course, are 4th. Maybe it's the start right now of the Thieves redemption arc to some degree to get back to the top. I think that's a team that I'm really looking forward to seeing how they develop. Let's say just going into next year, I think realistically that Thieves squad has some upset potential. I mean, we saw it when they played FaZe at Major 2. They arguably should have beaten them. I don't want to say should have beaten them, but they went up 1-0. They should have gone up 2-0. No excuses there. And then who knows what happens. But Ghosty's playing very well, only seems to be getting better and better by the stage. And the thing that I hope is for Los Angeles Thieves, that they don't allow Ghosty to get poached away. Because if I'm Toronto, if I'm New York, if I'm OpTic, possibly, probably not FaZe, but and also doubtful with OpTic, I guess. But if I'm Toronto and New York, I think there is certainly a world where next season I look at Ghosty and I think, all right, that might make sense. either if I'm Toronto and I lose Scrappy, or if I'm New York and I want somebody else to go alongside Skyz, or even something else going on, Ghosty's one to look at because he's playing so well. He seems to only be getting better and better, probably becoming a better personality and player and teammate as well over time, in addition, as he continues to develop in the league. You know, arguably top 10 player in the game right now, Mr. Dan Ghosty. So if you're Thieves, your entire modus operandi for this season was, we're going to rebuild a squad to get back to the point where we can be competing for championships in the future. That probably isn't going to happen this year, but I think the Thieves would be wise to absolutely try and keep hold of Ghosty and then choose the players around him that make the most sense going forwards and potentially try and build a similar thing. But are Thieves in the conversation that Pred's talking about? Probably not. They're likely talking about the teams further down. Even New York as well. I think they would throw them into that consideration on just this kind of strange style that doesn't seem to be accommodated. And that's Kenny's point. It's like, you know, you can't really roast us for not dominating these teams when they play in such a weird manner and it's massively different in scrims compared to what happens in the actual real games. Dashy frustrated with it as well. But Pred just straight up calling out some of these guys, like, you know, he wants more commitment from some of these other players. And I think you kind of see it. We've seen this every year with the CDL. Some of these teams basically just give up and like they're there to chill out. They'll take their salary. They're a pro COD player. Wow, congrats. And I do feel like there's, you know, a lot of lack of drive and commitment for some of these players. This is why I like a guy like Gwyn, for example. Gwyn's come into the league on Ravens. Talented player, absolutely, but he's known as a bit of a grinder. Like, he likes to play a lot of COD. He's always trying to get better. He's watching VOD. I feel like there's lots of guys in the league nowadays that's not necessarily the case for, right? And we'll see how it goes with, you know, guys like 04, guys like Flames that are now in the league. You know, how committed are they? How much are they grinding the game? Do they want to be the best, or are they satisfied to just potentially make the world championship and take a decent salary, right? Because, you know, to get better, it takes an awful lot of commitment. I think you see that with a guy like Gwyn and the way that the Ravens boys talk about him, how, you know, committed he is to improving his own play and why he's considered to be one of the top players. Hopefully we see more of that, because I do think this culture has maybe not infected the scene precisely. And also I think it comes top down as well. Like, you know, it's not like the FaZe guys, the Toronto guys are slamming out the 8s every day either. And on some level, Pred probably doesn't mind because, you know, given this is probably the reality, it makes things easier for OpTic hypothetically, right? Although maybe they can't get quite the same practice they would like to if we lived in a different reality. So very much interested to your thoughts in the comment section below. Just one final thing to mention for you guys, thought was kind of interesting. Simp and aBeZy's longest ever career win streak, because they're not far away getting back to the record here. So their longest streak was, well, a couple of streaks during 2021 on the Cold War days, of course. So Major 3 21 to Stage 5 2021 was a 13 win streak. They had an 11 win streak earlier on in that season. They're currently on a 10. So they are 6-0 this stage. They play one winnable game, absolutely, next weekend. Then they play the Major. So if they were to win, 3 series in a row, so that would take them to the Grand Finals. So if they make the Grand Finals of the Major in Toronto without losing a series at that point, that I think will be the record for them. Well, taking their own records, right, at 14, and they've already had a couple of 9s. So yeah, are they going to pass their all-time career win streak? I think you wouldn't bet against it right now based on the way that they're currently playing. But very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.